Our next student to be presenting is Ece Gulkirpik. She's at the University of Illinois, which is rather close to us. The title of her talk is Evaluation of Oxidative Stability of Full-Fat Soybean Flour Stored Under Accelerated Conditions as Influenced by Traditional Processing Methods. Ece, would you start?
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Bloomer, for this nice introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to share our latest research that we conducted as Human Nutrition Team of USAID Soybean Innovation Lab. So this has been a very terrifying year for all of us because of COVID-19, right? However, weren't you also fascinated to see our capability of creating a vaccine less than a year to address a significant pandemic that has killed millions of people in everywhere? But do you know what else is also killing millions of people in a year? That is malnutrition. It is amazing what we can do when we have a shared problem, and we still have this shared problem of dealing with malnutrition, more specifically undernourishment in low-income settings. One of the most common forms of malnutrition seen in children is stunting, which refers to a child who is too short for his or her age. According to the latest report of WHO, UNICEF, and the World Bank Group, in 2019, over 57 million of stunted kids lived in Africa, which is the only region where the number of stunted children has increased. In Sub-Saharan Africa, the prevalence of the stunting in children under the age of 5 is almost 33%, meaning that 1 in every 3 kids are suffering from stunting. For the most part, the stunting in Africa is associated with the poverty, as well as the limited access to high protein and nutrient-dense foods and specific minerals such as iron and zinc. One of the best sources of high-quality protein are soybeans, which are cost-effective and valuable agricultural products. Therefore, they carry a great potential to combat malnutrition, especially protein deficiency in Sub-Saharan Africa. Soybeans have been used in this region. However, despite its rich nutrient composition, only a small portion of the produced soybeans is used directly for human consumption and made it into food products. While the majority of the soybeans produced for their oil content, the soybean meal left after the oil extraction is dried and sold for animal feed. Though full-fat soy flour is easier to obtain, the ability to use it as an ingredient is limited because of its tendency to lipid oxidation. Due to its unsaturated fatty acid composition, the full-fat soy flour products experience reduced shelf life, especially when they are exposed to high temperature and relative humidity conditions, which are the norms in these local markets in this region. So pretreatment methods such as germination and roasting and the storage conditions within enough time can actually alter the oxidative stability of lipid-containing foods, such as soybean flour. Therefore, the hypothesis of the study was that pretreatment methods will improve the oxidative stability indicators of full-fat soy flour exposed to high temperature and humidity conditions after 12 weeks of storage as compared to the control. To test our hypotheses, pre-treated samples were prepared in different traditional methods by our colleagues at the University for Development Studies in Ghana, and then they were sent to the USA to be used in the study. Samples were kept in 2 different conditions, and they were collected at every 4 weeks from each condition to measure various oxidative stability markers, as well as some physical attributes. Then a 3-way mixed ANOVA was used to evaluate the effect of pretreatment time and condition factors on these physical and chemical parameters. Our data showed that pretreatment time and condition and the triple interaction of these factors had a significant impact on all oxidative stability markers tested. Of course, exposing these pretreated samples to high temperature and humidity conditions for 12 weeks resulted in an increment in all markers, including p-anisodine value, peroxide value, and acid value. However, roasting treatment modulated that effect. As it is also shown in this graph, compared to the control group and the germination, the total change in these 3 indicators of oxidation was significantly higher for roasting, which is a very traditional technique that is spread all over the Africa. We have confirmed results from another research group from South Korea that this is the case, which also allow us to argue against roasting, especially when you want to store full-fat soy flour under the norm conditions in Sub-Saharan Africa. So, can we use full-fat soy flour as an alternative source of protein to improve the diets of children in Sub-Saharan Africa, considering the high temperature and humidity conditions in this region? This study showed that yes, absolutely we can. We need to properly pre-treat the soybeans with the methods that can improve the oxidative stability of flowers, and germination could be a change in the current technology, which has other benefits as well. With this way, the utilization of full-fat soy flour for human consumption can be improved, and we can also boost the nutrition of vulnerable population. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ece. It's great to see research that is so relevant to a pressing problem and something that can be used practically. I have a question here about the accelerated storage conditions.
Yeah.
So the question says, is about the correlation between accelerated storage conditions and actual long-term storage. Sometimes people will challenge the correlation and say, well, you really can't replicate long-term storage under accelerated conditions. Something is going to go sideways. Have you seen studies where people have been able to actually test these things and compare the results?
Of course. So thank you very much first of all, for your question. So the reason that we did this accelerated condition studies was basically to mimic the conditions in Sub-Saharan Africa. So that is why we try to maintain the temperatures at a high temperature, like 45 Celsius, and really high relative humidity around 81%. But the purpose was not to do a shelf life study. So to be able to do that, we actually needed a third temperature condition, which might be a chill temperature, like cold temperature or something. But our purpose in this case was to force these samples to the edges of their abilities to see their differences in terms of their oxidative stability.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the judges?
I have a question, AJ. It looked like roasting, if you remove that option, it would make it more oxidatively stable. But is roasting contributing to other aspects, whether it's bacterial load, if it's decreasing that, or digestibility?
Yeah, so thank you very much for your question. It's actually good aspect. So roasting has been used in this context so much because it's a relatively easier process to conduct, and it doesn't require too many efforts. However, the problem with the roasting is that, as you can see, it was promoted the oxidation. There are studies that showing the heat treatment can help you to improve the digestibility. However, that is affecting the storage stability of the product. Whereas you can actually see the same, actually better benefits in germination treatment, which has been shown that it is improving the digestibility and also reducing the anti-nutrients of the soybean. So yeah.
Thank you. Very helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, I can add one more question in the same line. So with this roasting, would it not also impact the flavor? And maybe that's it can be both ways, either favorable or unfavorable. So do you have any indications on what the population prefers, what type of, or the consumers prefer?
Of course, this is actually a great question because we actually conducted a preliminary study on this. We use these pre-treated samples in a traditional dish in Ghana and try to see the preferences of the communities of the people over there. And what we have seen is that people actually prefer that fermented, that sorry taste of germinated samples, the malted samples. Roasting has been used, and the flavors, of course, the roasting is promoting, like helping, facilitating the sensory as well. But the germinated ones and the soaked samples were also preferred too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I will pass this round. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now
Thanks, everyone.